All right, y'all, welcome to the show. Today, I'm all over the place. We're going to be both silly and serious. Try to sprinkle in a little bit of everything. This is my sprinkle move. Right here. Okay, so we're going to talk about Jordan Peterson in a minute, and a tweet of his that I found curious. We'll go with the word curious. Trump is now facing backlash from anti-abortion groups, which, if you think about it, is kind of hilarious because he's the reason why Roe versus Wade was effectively overturned. And then later on in the show, we're going to go through the power rankings on the Republican side for the primary for president for 2024. That's going to be fun, man. That's going to be a lot of fun. So anyway, without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. We'll jump right into it here. So look at this tweet. This is some right-leaning dude that Jordan Peterson follows. And he says, "It's already happening. Hashtag Great Reset. Hashtag Jail Schwab." Now, and then he shows, cities here. These are like cities that are redesigned to be like walkable. And then, they show this, whatever this is from the World Economic Forum, where they said, you'll own nothing and you'll be happy. Now, look, let me just say up front, the whole, the World Economic Forum and Davos or however you refer to it, and any of these groups that are, filled with super wealthy people who think they're, being philanthropist or charitable, and, they're talking about the future and how we can improve stuff going forward, bro. I don't like that any more than the right-wingers don't like that. Because any sort of these super powerful groups that meet and try to decide the future for the whole public or the population, it's I believe in democracy more than that. I don't like, even if all the oligarchs mean well, right? It's but the point is structural. You guys shouldn't be in place to make a lot of these decisions. Now, that's not to say that, some big projects don't need top-down enforcement where you need sort of organization. Of course, many projects do, but I understand people being I don't like these whether it's the secret societies or it's these giant billionaire do-gooder events. It's sort of fuck off. Okay, now having said that, the right has really been leaning into this Great Reset stuff and Klaus Schwab and all that, and they've developed sort of I was going to say ornate conspiracies. I don't know if that's the right word, though. Elaborate conspiracies around it. And honestly, it strikes me as no different from, I don't know if you guys remember, about 10 years ago, they did the whole Agenda 21 is going to come around, bro, and it's going to force you to live in fucking hobbit homes and stuff, bro. And it was Glenn Beck sort of pushed it. And it seemed like it was more fringe then. Now, similar arguments are somehow catching steam. So in steps Jordan Peterson. Now, again, this tweet, the guy's Great Reset's bad, bro. Jail Schwab. And he's just showing cities that are designed to be walkable. That's all this is. Okay. Jordan Peterson steps in. He says, the idea that neighborhoods should be walkable is lovely. Oh, cool. The idea that idiot, tyrannical bureaucrats can decide by fiat where you're, quote, allowed to drive is perhaps the worst imaginable perversion of that idea. And, make no mistake, it's part of a well-documented plan. There are about a million things you could point to of government doing something where I'd be I don't like that. There was a well-documented plan to invade Iraq and Afghanistan, to open up an illegal torture center in Guantanamo Bay. That's the, save the words idiot and tyrannical for stuff like that. But no. He's talking about walkable cities. And look at the language being used. And by the way, the first part of the tweet sort of contradicts the end of it, because he's the idea that neighborhood should be walkable is lovely. Okay, well then why are we still talking? What's with the rest of the tweet? The idea that idiot tyrannical bureaucrats can decide by fiat where you're allowed to drive is perhaps the worst imaginable perversion of the idea. What does that mean? Should people be allowed to drive on sidewalks now? How should they be allowed to drive on the beach on a busy day? Of course there are places where you're allowed to drive and you're not allowed to drive. It already works like that. And why is it idiot tyrannical bureaucrat? So what's the other option? If it's not the city that's making the decision, if it's not some level of government making the decision about where to put the roads, the alternative is what? Private corporations? You want some That would be more tyrannical, ironically, if you let private corporations, we're gonna make our private roads, and other, corporations or wealthy individuals are gonna make their own private roads, and then every time you make a turn, you're gonna have to pay a toll. And so that would be more tyrannical and idiotic. It's like every time you turn onto a different street, it's like, that'll be $10.50, please. And they are the ones who really get to decide it by fiat if it's a wealthy person or a corporation, because then there's no say from the public. At least when the government is involved, yeah, you can have some public input on, hey, where should we put the road? Where does it make sense? So I don't, why the over-the-top, almost conspiratorial language when talking about literal walkable cities? Look, I'm as American as the next guy in the sense that I like having a car. I like driving. I see the appeal of the individualism of the vehicle, that you can take long distances, right? But even if I look at a walkable city design, it's like, well, that's lovely. Some people prefer not to have to get in the car to drive 15 minutes to go somewhere. Some people prefer, I want to be able to walk out of my door or walk out of my apartment building and walk down the street and be able to access anything and everything I want right there. Why is that controversial? Why is that bad? So again, let's reread it. The idea that neighborhoods should be walkable is lovely. Good. If he stopped the tweet there, great. The idea that idiot tyrannical bureaucrats can decide by fiat where you're allowed to drive is perhaps the worst imaginable perversion of that idea. It's so over the top. It's so over the... All we're talking about is walkable cities being designed. That's perfectly reasonable. And make no mistake, it's part of a well-documented plan. Big road is coming for you. Big highway is coming to ruin your life. I just don't get it. There's this weird thing that happens online these days where it's like, you can take the most banal, benign, nothing story, and there's going to be some percentage of people that blow it up into the biggest fucking thing that's ever happened. It's the end of the world if fill in the blank with whatever totally blasé, nonchalant, non-story. And it's weird, man. I don't know. I think the internet is sort of breaking our brains in many respects. I really do. Because I just don't get it. Usually when I see outrage, even if I don't agree with the outrage, I can sort of tap into the mind of whoever is outraged and see why they feel the way they feel, even if I don't agree. This is just I don't get it. I don't get it even a little bit. I don't get it. Idiot tyrannical roads. So are the roads we have now like that already? Because it was the government that built all the roads. So is that idiotic and tyrannical? It's certainly part of a big plan, and the big plan is I want to get people from A to B. And I think that's a good thing. Call me crazy. But anyway, there you have it. Hey, y'all, do me a favor and like and subscribe. It helps out big time in the algorithm. Click the bell as well for notifications when videos drop, and watch that video on screen right now. You know you want to.